Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget, and today is webinar number 10 or week 10 on May 14th, 2015. Time is flying this year, so doesn't look like there's anybody here just yet. So I'm going to roll in through some of these slides to talk about the case study that we're out week 3 for that now. I'm actually having really poor results with this particular case study, so I'm setting up some additional tests using the same domains, and we'll talk about that. So let me just go ahead and grab the slides for now, and we'll get into that, and then maybe there will be some questions beyond this. Give me 1 second. Let me clean up my desktop a little bit. Okay, so like I said, training webinar, week number 10. The case study that we started 3 weeks ago is a case study that I said will probably go for about 90 days, and so I am going to keep that promise, although right now it's not looking real promising at the moment, and I'll explain. But the case study was that I purchased 8 domains with the same domain name, just different extensions, and here are the domain extensions that I purchased. Okay, so I'm targeting one particular set of keywords or one particular niche using the same piece of content on all 8 sites. It was well spun the way that I do it. Okay, so there was I had criteria slides. I should have probably pulled those up as a refresher. In fact, since nobody's here just yet, I'm going to do that because I think you guys are going to want to see this. And that would have been either webinar 7 or webinar 8. So give me a second because I want you guys to see the slides for the criteria. All right, here we go. I'll open this one up in another tab as well. And that way you can kind of give a refresher on what this case study is. And then I'll talk about the results that I'm seeing currently and what my plans are going forward, since as of yet, I'm not seeing what I had hoped and expected. But that's okay because we're going to add to it. So anyways, let me grab the screen again. Sorry about that. Should have had this open before. All right, so this was from week 7. Don't let that fool you. We're in week 10 now. But the case study was the criterion setup was that I had multiple domain extensions using the same domain name. Sites built on a subdomain of each domain, because I always build on subdomains. And every single time I say that, I get 100 questions for why. So I'm sure today will be no different. But I always build on subdomains, okay? These are all US-based sites, so I set the geographic targeting for the United States. Excuse me, the international targeting for United States, which I set in Webmaster Tools, because I connect all of my sites to Google accounts, not my own, but to persona accounts. I'm sure that will also open up a bunch more questions again, because I always get questions on that as well. So fire away, guys. Targeting a sub-niche. So essentially what I'm targeting with each one of these sites out of the 8 for the case study is a particular niche, but then targeting a sub niche within that niche, okay? Because it's obviously got a little bit better chance of doing well or performing well for targeting a sub niche, right? So it's more narrow of a topic, all right? The articles that I put on there, I know Brian chose to do, not to go this deep, but I wanted to for this case study, and the way I set up my sites, I just followed the way I typically do. Guys, I'm not saying that you have to do this. Please don't put in support tickets and say that I told you to do this, because I'm not telling you to do that. Follow what Brian and Don want you to do. I'm here to just do some of the training, okay? But the criteria that I used for this case study was a 1,500-word article. I did 5 images per post, okay? 1 YouTube video per post, and 2 related content links per post, okay? And then I did a total of 12 tags. Okay, so there was essentially, when the site got built, it was 12 tags per post. Okay, so the site maps, once the sites have been deployed and cleaned up, okay, so that's logging into the back end, setting your permalinks, activating some of the plugins, activating the site map, generating the site map, all of those things. Then I actually submitted the site maps to Google Webmaster Tools. As I mentioned before, I do actually use Google Webmaster Tools and Google Analytics. I love it. I try to use them on all of my sites. I just don't put everything under one account. I had actually used 4 separate accounts, Google accounts, where I submitted 2 sites to each separate Google account, okay? Then I also pinged the sitemaps using a sitemap pinger, and then the country targeting was set to United States and Google Webmaster Tools, except for .in, which is India by default. Okay, so that's a country level domain. So .in is set for India, and you're not able to change the international targeting, which you'll see in the results in just a moment when I show you where we're at in week 3 now of indexing rates. It's actually interesting that the .in domain is actually probably indexed better than anything else, which I find that to be ironic. Backlinks indexer plugin has been enabled. And then, like I said, I connected to analytics, 4 analytics, same as I did with Google Webmaster Tools. So there was 4 analytics accounts, 2 sites per account. Okay. The domain extensions, we just saw that. So I'll go ahead and close this one down. We'll bring this back up. Now this brings us back to where we were a moment ago. So these are the different eight different extensions. The only reason why there's not a .com there is because it wasn't available for the particular domain name that I purchased. So I purchased all the rest of these. Okay. And 3 weeks later, this is where we're at. The .website, it's actually took a little bit of a drop, I believe, from last week. I don't have the, let's see if I can pull those up. Website. Okay, that would have been website 2. This was 5303 last week, and right now it's 5227. So it actually went down a little bit in indexing rate since last week. I'm not going to do this with all the slides because some of them I know and some of them I don't. Most of them went up slightly, but not much. Again, this is only week 3, number 3, guys. So I usually don't get worried about a site not indexing until after 30 days has passed. So I would still give it another 10 days or so, roughly. So this time next week, or actually next week, we'll have the early webinar again. It'll be in the morning, so 12 hours before this, 12 hours before it is now. I'll have another report, and then hopefully I will have seen some better results between now and next week. If not, then by the 5th week, which will be the following week, that's when I start to get a little bit more concerned. But I'm still going to go ahead and set up some additional case studies using the same domains, just different subdomains on those domains, and we'll talk about that here more in a minute. The .info site, you can see that this one is indexing okay, although again I expect to be a hell of a lot more indexed by now, 3 weeks in. But you know, again, things vary. These sites vary all the time. The .biz performing poorly at the time that currently it is. I mean, .us same thing, not very much. .co very low. .org is 1420. That's up from last week, which is good. And .net is up from last week. And in the .in, look, that's what's interesting. That's what I find funny is that this is actually a India top level country domain for India, and we're actually indexed better with that domain than any of the others, which I find that to be interesting. Okay. Now, what I wanted to talk about was, and then I'll get into questions because hopefully there will be some questions by the time I'm done with this. But the same .org. So let's go back. Let's pull these back up here for a minute. Well, I don't want to make it small on you guys, so I'll bring it back up. All right, so you can see the domain extensions here, guys. Like I said, I have the same domain. So let's just say it's domain.website, domain.info, domain.biz. And then I've got a subdomain that I built out that's the same. So let's say it's sub.domain.website, right? Sub.domain.info. So I'm using the same root domain, and I'm using the same subdomain on all 8, so that I'm trying to keep all things equal, okay? So that we could, the idea of the case study was to try to determine if one of these domain extensions, you know, would rank better than others. And, you know, one case study is never enough data for you to be able to make a firm decision, you know, to say, or a conclusion to say, okay, well, .in's ranking better than the rest of them, so that must mean that all .in domains are going to rank better. No, this is just the beginning of a case study, which I thought would lead to some interesting conclusions that we could kind of test further down the road, right? So, you know, I don't want anybody to assume that the data that we're seeing right now is absolute, because it's certainly not, right? But so since I've been seeing kind of rather less than what I had expected results for these 8 testing sites as it is, I went ahead and I started to build out on the other, or on another subdomain of these domains in the same niche, but targeting a different sub niche. Okay, remember I said that all these sites were built out in a particular niche, but they were all targeting a sub niche, a very narrow niche within the overall niche. And I'm not revealing it because it's something that I'm actually going to be monetizing with a partner, so I can't reveal the actual niche. But that doesn't matter for these purposes. So for the second batch of sites that I'm building, it's in another sub niche within that same niche. Okay, so and the same thing. I used the same piece of content. I had not the same content from the original batch, but a different piece of content that I'm using on all 8 of the second batch. And I actually did 6 out of 8. So in other words, 6 out of these 8 have been built out already on another subdomain. Okay. And I don't have all of them cleaned up yet. I built them last week. In fact, when we did the local client takeover webinar with Mark Leckenberg and his crew, I had mentioned that I had done 6 sites in an hour, and that was that morning. That was last Thursday, a week ago today. And some of those I still haven't even been in and cleaned up yet. So I haven't got them completely, like the site maps generated and submitted to Webmaster Tools and everything. I've just had a really busy week, but I probably will have all of that done between now and Saturday. And so what's interesting is on the .org, which if we come back over here, let's go back a couple slides. You can see the .org of the original case study that I set up that now we're 3 weeks into. There's only 1,420 indexed URLs, okay? And if we take a look at the new site that I just built a week ago today, and I just took these screenshots today, you can see that this one has 13,565 indexed URLs in a week. Okay, so this is more on par or on track with what I'm used to seeing. And so it's like the first case study that I've set up, this first batch, either is a poor, I can't say that the content was poor because it's pretty much on the same level of quality as all the other sites that I built. I wonder if it's just a particular niche. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out by adding additional, building secondary and tertiary, batches on the same group of domains. I'm going to try to determine if it was the content or if it was that particular sub niche for whatever reason. I'm going to try to make some conclusions here or draw some conclusions out of why I'm not seeing this first batch ranking as well. So I don't know. I thought this was interesting. I think I'm kind of nerding out a little bit on it, but hopefully you guys see it too. I think these kind of tests and tracking these things is good because it just makes you more, knowledgeable about what to do going forward. Okay. You can try to infer some trends in these sites, right? And I'm still learning, guys, a hell of a lot about these sites. So, I'm by no means an expert yet. But interesting, like I said, out of the 6 sites that I built last week, targeting a different sub niche with a new piece of content that was optimized for that particular sub niche, and the same exact criteria. In fact, I used the same. If we go take a look, let's back it up a minute. This criteria right here. This is the exact same criteria. Like I use the same images, the same YouTube videos, and the same related content links. Actually, I might have changed those out because it would have linked to a different. I probably did change those out, but everything else is the exact same, except that I'm targeting a different set of a different sub niche. Okay, and I use the exact same 5 images per post, 1 YouTube per post, blah blah blah. And I'm found out of those 6 sites that I've built, I just pulled the screenshot of the .org domain today, and you see this, and I've got, I think I had actually cleaned up 3 out of the 6 sites, so I've still got 3 more to clean up, and I didn't go look at the other ones yet. So I don't know how well they're doing, but I thought it was interesting to see the big difference between this one, which is a week old, and then this one, which is now 3 weeks old, and it's still not indexing well. So anyways, I don't have a lot of conclusions yet, but that's why this is going to be an ongoing case study. And what I plan on doing to go forward, guys, is I'm going to end up taking the rest of these domains. Let's see if I can go back to them. And I'm going to go ahead and I've already got the content ready for a 3rd batch of sites on this same set of domains, targeting another sub niche within that niche. I got the content back. I just haven't actually built the sites out yet. So I'm hoping to get to that on Monday or Tuesday next week. Because I got my weekend planned out already, but and then hopefully by next Thursday I will have some initial data back from that 3rd batch, and then what I'll do is in the presentation going forward, I will go ahead and show a comparison. So, for example, maybe what I'll do is like on the .org slide, excuse me, let me back up. On the .org slide, I'll have these 3 images spread out and say, batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, or, set 1, set 2, set 3, whatever, so that we can kind of get a comparison for how things are. And I think that'll be interesting going forward to have that kind of data. So anyways, hopefully you guys find that interesting. I think it's interesting. I'm still got a lot of research to go over. So I'm going to take a look at these questions and see if there's anything here. Ganty, what's up, Ganty? You're a busy guy, man. I see you in a lot of other groups and stuff all the time now. What are you going to cover today? Really, that's all I plan on covering, guys, was questions and answers, Q&A, and then just go over the case study stuff, because, we're still waiting on the updates, which I understand it from Brian's post earlier today as well, that Dawn is hard at work. Trust me, that guy, he barely sleeps. He works his ass off, and he's just obsessed with getting this done in a good way, obviously. And so, guys, I'm not giving him any grief whatsoever. I'm trying to give him as wide a swath as he needs to, and as much space as he needs to get it done, because it's certainly something that I'm looking forward to, as well as I know all of you are. And as soon as the updates are done, I'm going to get in and start doing a bunch of training series again, and pretty much just delete all of the old training series that I've already done. Anyways, guys, just give him some time, give him some space. And once that is done, I promise you we'll have additional formal training every week. But in the meantime, it's kind of like, I'm just going with what I got. So Ganty says, I'm here, am not chopped liver. Never said you were, Ganty. Webmaster Tools. Oh, Brian, it's Brian, what is WMT? Yeah, Webmaster Tools. Elizabeth had it right. GWMT is Google Webmaster Tools. Michael Bose is here. What's up, Michael? He's actually answering some support tickets for Lead Gadget now. He has kind of been brought on as part-time help to help out with support stuff. So guys, get to know Michael in the groups, because he's he's also does support for stuff for my business. That's where we brought him in for that. So he's going to try to be as helpful as possible. Let's see. What else do you guys want to cover today? Do you have anything that you specifically want to go over? I know Ganty, by the way, Ganty, I do want to address something. I know that I had requested that we put in a Facebook thread. In fact, I could probably pull that up. Let me pause the screen for a minute just in case there's anything sensitive showing. I'll try to, we'll jump into the Facebook group for a minute. I'm going to be doing, once the updates, I don't want to start doing a new training series until the new updates are rolled out, okay? And the reason why is because I don't want to start doing videos and then, be in the middle of creating videos for a training series and then have to go back and re-record them again, because the interface is all changed. And as new people come in, if they start to watch those videos with the old interface, then it's going to confuse them, and it's just going to create more of a headache than it's worth. So I'm going to just be patient, and I'm going to wait until the updates are rolled out, and then I will start doing new training series covering specifically what I had asked in the Facebook group about. We had, because of Mark Luckenberg's local client takeover webinar last week, I've had a lot of questions about local stuff and how to set up local sites and everything else. So I'm going to be doing a specific case study on that as well, maybe even 2 case studies simultaneously on that. We'll see. Excuse me. And then let me see. Let me see if I can find that real quick. It would have been my last post, or second to last post. Okay, I got it up. So I'll just open this in another window, and I'll take the screen so that you guys don't have to stare at me. And we'll go over this. Okay. So, yes, I plan on doing Joseph Hannon. No kidding. Joe Hannon, he's I know him from a certification event that I went to with him in Phoenix, Arizona last summer, or last May, a year ago this month, actually. So that's cool. I didn't know he's part of the group. Anyways, I talked about how I want to be doing some local training, and I asked for some requests for some niche, because I'm not going to share my own niches, guys, only because I had shared some of my sites with the training crew already, and I see already other lead gadgeteers out there building sites targeting the exact same keywords that I've shared. And so because of that, anytime I'm setting up case studies now, I'm either going to have to hide my data if I'm going to use them and monetize them, or just set up throwaway sites specifically for training purposes. So I'm not going to reveal my own niches, and that's part of the reason I asked for some requests so that I can actually just build out on something that I really have no interest in, so I can do it for training purposes. So I got some really cool, some good ideas in here. And so what I'm going to end up doing is probably, like I said, probably do two simultaneous local case studies, local site builds for to show how I would build doing local. And I know, like, I think it's Kerry Duke. I think he's the one that's doing a ton of local stuff. I hope that's him, and I hope I didn't misquote. But he was on with the local client takeover webinar last week as well. And he's doing a ton of local stuff too. And I'd be interested to see what his strategies are, but I don't know that he's willing to share that with everybody. So I'm going to show you how I do them. Okay. And how I plan on doing it. I'd rather build national sites personally, only because I use them to extract data from in Webmaster Tools and Analytics. And then once I identify pockets of low-hanging fruit, so places that I can go in and just dominate with a normal site build, go in and build like a siloed out site that's specific to that local area, put together Web 2.0 properties, do some YouTube stuff as well, because I do a ton of video stuff, and just dominate for an area. That's how I'm using Lead Gadget, right? I'm using Lead Gadget to drive traffic, to generate leads, to build my email lists, and also to identify local markets that I can go in with little to no competition and just dominate with a traditional site build, right? And that's how I'm doing it. But I know a lot of people had asked about how to build Lead Gadget sites specific to a local market. And so I've got some ideas that I'm going to put together and again, start a training series. It probably won't be something that I cover like the training on the webinar. I'll probably do that as an off webinar training series, and then put it together in a playlist and everything, and then maybe go over the criteria and the concepts and everything else during the webinars, guys, because you'll get more out of it. That way it'll be more detailed. Okay. So I got some good ideas here that I'm going to go through, and I will select a couple of them and build out on them. Okay. And again, I got a couple different methods that I'm going to test. And if I can get some of the others here that have done a lot of local stuff with these, I'd be happy to take some suggestions on that as well. I find it to be like, I'd rather build a site that covers the entire United States than build a site that just covers one city or just one state, because that's using a database on my VPH that could have built an entire nationwide site on. You know what I mean? So I think you limit yourself to that. However, I can also see the benefit of if you build your custom lists right in the ATM, I could see how you could actually build out a site targeting a city and all of its, the sub-cities, or what do you want to call them? Like towns, you know what I mean? Like you could cover a state and all of the counties and in all of the cities within a state, or you could even cover a city with like all of the little townships or areas or districts within the city. So you could go hyper local with it, but also cover like all the variations of keywords for a service. So for just for example's sake, like let's say it was a plumber, there's a ton of plumbing keywords that you could target. You'd have to set them up properly in the custom list for you to be able to build the site out all in one schwack, right? Because the way I'm doing it now with site builds is I'm essentially targeting one main keyword per site. But I'm just building that site's a nationwide site. So I'm targeting one main keyword, but for every city in the entire country. But I could see and I visualized like how to put together a site or build a site out where I could target all of the cities or and subs, the districts or townships within a city, but also multiple keywords, right? So that you cover it all with one site, all the different keywords. And so I'll explain how I'm going to put all those together when I actually do the trainings, guys. I'll put some notes together as well and deliver those to you guys when I do that. But that said, Ganti, I do want to answer a question. You said that you were asking in here if I would cover affiliate stuff. Well, honestly, that's what we've been covering so far is affiliate stuff. Like pretty much all the training that I've done to this point has been about either generating leads, building an email list, or affiliate / CPA stuff, right? I mean, that's what we've covered so far up to this point. So I don't really see how I could cover that any differently. except maybe, do some additional site builds, maybe with some other methods of, driving traffic or whatever. But I mean, I think we've done that pretty well. And obviously I'm going to continue to do more training, Ganti, but particularly the next case study that's coming out is going to be about local. Now, the ongoing case study that we were just talking about here, this is an affiliate or a / lead gen type site, because it's for generating leads for a particular business industry. And so, I'm going to get paid per generated lead. All right. And so that's very similar. The affiliate, same thing. I mean, you just, whether you drive a lead to a contact form and then or a pay-per-call and somebody pays you for that lead, or if you drive traffic to a page where they sign up to an email list, that's also another form of lead gen, right? Even if it's for your own email list or for other people's email lists, or if you drive traffic to a site and they click on a link and then they go make a purchase on somebody else's site, that's an affiliate. They're all relatively the same. Okay. So I think we've done that. And we'll continue to work more on that, Ganti. I'm just letting you know, I think for the case study specifically that I mentioned here, it's going to be for local stuff. Okay. So I'm not alienating you, I hope. Okay, Bradley, I know there are a lot of videos on Amazon S3, but can you just do your own version of it? I just wanted to know how to use it effectively and protect the content. Let's see. What I could do with Amazon S3 is, all right, what as far as protecting the content, I mean, like here, I'll go into my Amazon S3 account. That's fine. Okay, so for S3 guys, all I do is create a bucket. Okay, like for example, we use this was the LG Detox, and I'm doing these differently now based on some of the training and trial and error, guys. Like I said, I'm getting better with these sites every build. And again, I cannot advise you guys to do a bunch of spinning stuff. I've been told I've been prohibited from doing so. So I'm not going to teach you guys a lot of the spinning stuff that I'm doing, but I can tell you that what I do, this is not, there's only 30 images in this folder, and then there's some banners too, and this is a bucket, right? And so you can see LG Detox. This is for that detox site build, one of the first few sites that I built when I started doing training for Lead Gadget, right? And so this is very poor example of like what you can do. I do for these sites here. I told you, here's the criteria again. There was 200 available images. So I actually took a bucket and stuck about 200 images in the bucket. Okay. I had uploaded 200 images, and then I extracted the URLs. Now, thanks to, what is her name? I feel awful if I can't remember her name. See if I can find it real quick. I'm going to feel like a jerk. Sarah, I think maybe it's Sarah. She's Australian, I believe. She did a video on how to extract URLs from an Amazon S3 bucket, and also how to change the file names and everything else, because I was using Excel to change the file names before uploading them to Amazon S3 and things like that. And so you can see these were numbered because at the time, that was the only way I knew how to do it. But she turned us on, like, here's that program called Batch Photo that I mentioned, for scraping or changing image sizes and stuff. So this like resizes photos, which I think is important so that you get kind of like consistency throughout the site builds. But then there was, what's it called? Ant Renamer. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here, I'll just go to Google. When in doubt, go to Google, right? She told us about, she was the one that turned me on to this, but it's called Ant Renamer right here. This right here. This is a freeware program, guys. You can download it, and what you can do is after you've scraped a bunch of images and then resize them, you can actually take this and drop the files. It's real simple to use, but you can drop the files and then drop a list of keywords into the, so you basically load the file, you open up the folder or whatever. Yeah, I guess I'll probably just have to do a demonstration, because otherwise it could be Ant Renamer. Just do that. All right. So here you would say add files, then you go select a file that's going to have your images in it. Okay. I'm just going to close that out. Then it will show a list of all your file names here so that particular folder that you select with all the images will be in here. So what I do first is go to Google. I use the Ultimate Image Scraper, which I know it's been covered in some of the training, guys. If you need links to any of this stuff, just let me know. And after the training webinar, I'll grab the links and paste them in the events page. But I use Ultimate Image Scraper. It's about a $30 software that I use to scrape Google Images and Bing Images and things like that to scrape photos. And you can change the licensing requirements and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what that means is you can have it just select images that are free to use or share and free to use, other than commercially and all that. So anybody here that has any issues with that, you can change those kind of requirements or criteria, the search criteria. But then after I've downloaded all of them, so it scrapes the images and it will automatically download them if you tell it to do so to a folder. Then I take the folder of the URLs or the images that I've downloaded, and I go to batch photo and I resize them. Okay, and I get rid of like the .gifs and any of the funny file extensions that cause problems. I get rid of them. I just keep the .jpegs and the PNGs and things like that. Okay, then from there, this is where she stepped in and she taught us about the ant renamer, which you just grab the file folder, the one everything's been resized, okay, and then you go over here and go to actions and change. Let's see, where is it? Take names from list right here, okay, and so here you paste in your keywords. And so what I've done is just because I've already I've already done my tags, have my tags set up and everything and ready to go for the site build. I just go grab my tags that are in a list form, not spun form. And then I do find and replace for any spaces between the tags and put dashes in and just drop them in here. Okay. And then when you go ahead and click go, it will actually rename all of the images in that folder using the different keywords in here. So it's very cool. So what ends up happening is you end up having the file names over here in your bucket with the keyword optimization in them. Okay, which is great because it adds diversity to the pages and everything else. Plus, you still get that mention of keywords in there. So very cool. The next thing that she taught, which was fantastic because I was doing it manually before, was how to extract all the URLs from the bucket in one, a couple clicks instead of having to do them one by one, which is part of the reason I didn't have 200 images in here to begin with, because it was too much manual work. And I spent about an hour trying to find stuff that would extract how to extract all the URLs from a bucket. And I couldn't figure it. I couldn't find it. She came along and showed us, and there's another program called S3. Let's see if I can find that one now. S3 browser right here. Just a second. This is S3 browser right here, and you can see that this right here. Well, once you put in your access keys, guys, you have to put in your security key and access key to your Amazon S3 account. But then you can actually click on, so like this is the LG detox. This is see this, guys, the data right here that you're seeing is the exact same thing that you see here, okay? Because I have it connected. And then all you need to do is just click into here somewhere and then right click and you say generate web URLs. And now if I say copy to clipboard and I go open up a notepad, we can paste these in. We'll see. Oh, you know what? I needed to select all. 1 second. Go in here, do Control A. Right click, generate web URLs, copy to clipboard, and then there you go. You see that? So that was like incredibly quick. But one last thing that I do want to mention about this, guys, obviously you'd spin those together and then put them in to a shortcode. If you're going to use spun images, which I cannot advise you to, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm just telling you what I do. So don't anybody say, well, Brad told us to do this, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if you wanted to, this is how you would have all of your URLs from your bucket. Last thing is there is, and I will share this with you guys just one moment. There's this code right here. It's called a public bucket policy. This is what you want to put in and I'll show you where to do that inside of Amazon S3. But this makes all of the URLs in a bucket publicly available. So as long as somebody has the URL, they can click on it. It will display to them. Or if it's like a download link, it'll prompt to download, whatever. But it was, like I said, this is just a public bucket policy. So we'll go in Amazon S3 real quick. Like if we go back to just the bucket here, click on the bucket and then click on properties, you'll see that there is permissions, and then you'll see edit bucket policy right here. You click on that, and this is the bucket policy that I have right here on this notepad file right here. Okay, and the only thing that you do is in the notepad file here where it says my bucket, you need to change that to your bucket name. In this case, it's LG Detox. Okay, and then you change that in here, and then you save it. You see right here it says LG Detox, and then you click save, and that makes all the URLs. So in other words, all of these are publicly viewable. So if I actually just copy this URL right now and go over to Chrome and paste it in, you'll see there's the image, right? So as far as S3, that's how I'm using it, guys. I'm using it because now I'm using, a ton of images instead of just a couple. Because when you build a site out with 32,000, 30,000 pages or posts and 42,000, 30 or my builds are usually either 30,000 posts or 42,000 posts if I'm using zip codes. I'm trying to get more images onto the pages, and so that's how you do it. But again, I'm not telling you guys that you have to spin a bunch. If you only want to do 5 images or 2 images or whatever, feel free to do so. Okay, so I don't get in trouble for telling you to do something different. Let's see. I agree that you have done that pretty well. I'm looking more for CPA offers. Okay, that's Ganty responding to my comments earlier. Specifically, if the offer is pulled out, how do you incorporate a new offer to replace the old pulled out offers? Oh, great question. So let me reread that again, Ganty. That's a great question. I'm looking more for CPA offers. Specifically, if the offer is pulled out, how do you incorporate a new offer to replace the old pulled offers? I know you did a lot of this, and I can extrapolate that. Anyway, thank you for all the tutorials. Okay, no problem, Ganty. That's a great question, though. So, guys, as I had mentioned before, if you're linking from when you're building a site before you deploy it, if you're going to be linking directly to an affiliate offer or a CPA offer, okay, then I recommend that when you build into the site build before you deploy your site, that you craft your own custom URLs to the affiliate, that you will go into your WordPress dashboard after the site is deployed and put a redirect plugin, excuse me, a redirect plugin in on your site. You're going to install a redirect plugin on your site so that you can redirect those URLs to anywhere you want. And that way, if anything ever changes, you can change the destination URL. You can swap it out as many times as you want, okay? Because otherwise you limit yourself. So for example, if you go into your Lead Gadget dashboard and you pull an affiliate link, and let's type this out here, guys, because I think this is important. Let me go ahead and just clear this real quick. And I'll make this bigger. That's a great question, though, Ganty, so I definitely want to cover that. All right, so let's say that you go in here and go to, let's say, HTTP, let's say leadgadget.com, AFF offer, okay? I'm going to say affiliate offer, right? So say that this is your affiliate link, okay? And you go ahead and build out a site, and in your site build, in your before you deploy the site in your content, let's say that you've got this link in the content, or you've got images or banners or whatever, excuse me, that's going to link directly to this affiliate link. So that if somebody clicks on it, it takes them over to, that affiliate offer or that page or the contact form, the lead form, whatever it is. If you're, instead of building that link into the content, what I would suggest is let's say that your domain, your site is domain. Let's say mysite.com. Let's say that's your site. Then what I recommend that you do is that when you build out your content, you build out the link for the affiliate link like this. You'd say like mysite.com AFF1, or well, actually it's supposed to be a slash there anyways, but you could say like AFF1 or offer 1 or something like that. Whatever it is, guys. These are just examples. But build out your site using this link. Well, yeah, where does this link go? It goes nowhere at the moment. And when you build your site out, it's going to go nowhere. It's going to be a broken link, okay? It'll return a 404 error if you try to click on it after the site has been built. But after the site has been built and you've deployed and you've logged in the WordPress dashboard and you've done your cleanup, you can go install a redirect plugin. I use a plugin called All-in-One Redirect. It's a premium plugin, but there's another one called Pretty Link. Pretty Link Lite is the free version, and it will do exactly what you need it to do. You can go, if you're doing a ton of this stuff, you're probably going to want to get a premium redirect plugin. or an affiliate cloaker plugin or whatever. There's a ton of them that all do relatively the same thing. So just pick one. Okay, it doesn't have to be any particular one, but that way you can go in once the site is built and actually point this URL as a redirect to this one. Now what happens is if any time something happens and this lead goes bad or gets pulled, instead of you having a site out there that's useless, you can go in there and just redirect this URL to another destination, to a different destination URL. Just get rid of this one. So let's say that it was instead of affiliate offer, now it's new offer. Right, let's say it's another offer altogether. Well, all you got to do now, your links throughout your entire site build can stay the same. They just redirect to a different destination, and you can do that in just a couple clicks of a mouse. Okay, so that's what I would suggest, Ganti. Anytime you're doing it, plus not only that, but if somebody hovers over the link on their site, and this isn't everybody, guys, but those of us that are savvy enough to look for these things, notice this. If somebody hovers over a link on your site and they see it linking to another place, sometimes people don't like to click on stuff like that. Sometimes they do. A lot of times people never even notice. But this way, they hover over it, it's going to look like it's an internal link, like to another page on your own site. And in fact, when somebody links on it, it actually redirects them off site to the offer page. Does that make sense? Okay, so hopefully that was clear, but I think that was a good question. So Sarah Dowling, yes, Elizabeth, thank you. I appreciate that. And I feel bad that I didn't know that off the top of my head, but she did a great job with that video. Taught me a lot. Ant Renamer, photo case, that's one I have not used. That's great. Thank you for that. Let's see. Pretty Link Pro is what I use, and okay, that is what I need to do. Good, thank you. You're welcome again, to you. That's a great question, though. I mean, I absolutely recommend using it. Doesn't have to, any redirect plugin will do. Again, if you're doing a bunch of this stuff, just use a premium plugin because you'll get more analytics, more features, and stuff like that. So, and I can hear anything I'm having again. And the Google Hangouts is buffering, and I can hear anything. I'm gonna have to get that info on the replay. Wow, I've done several webinars today, and they've all been pretty good. Although we've had some issues with lead gadget webinars, I don't know why. Hopefully, you guys the replay will come through okay. Because as far as I know, the bandwidth is okay on my side. I haven't had any issues yet today. So apparently, Randy's having trouble, and so is Elizabeth. Well, sorry guys, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, if there's no other questions, I'm probably going to wrap it up because we're close to an hour anyways. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the updates that are coming out, guys. I'm not trying to rush on at all, though. So when they come out, I'll set up a couple additional case studies, and we're going to keep pushing forward with the ones that I've already got going and adding to that as well. So if you guys have any other requests right now, go ahead and post them onto the page, because if not, I'm going to wrap it up in about 60 seconds. And hopefully the recording won't be choppy if you guys are having issues on the other end. Hopefully it won't be, but I can't promise that. For whatever reason, seems like the webinars on the Lead Gadget channel have been giving us trouble. It's happened a couple times. I don't know why. I do webinars all the time on other channels as well, and it's never have any issues. But for some reason on the Lead Gadget YouTube channel, we've had issues with the webinars, so I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that. All right, guys, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, so I'm assuming that we're going to wrap it up. Give it about another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to close it down. By the way, when I post the next events page for next week, which next week it'll be in the morning again, so 12 hours earlier than it was tonight. Okay, I'll talk to Ganti. Just posted another question. If you guys have any questions ahead of time, put them on the events page, especially if it's something that you think I might need to prepare for, because that way, if you have something that you want answered more in depth, or you want some maybe, potentially some examples for me to show you, sometimes it's easier for me to prepare stuff ahead of time than it is to try to do it live. So please post them on the events page ahead of time. If I can start training you guys to be a little bit more interactive up ahead of time, it will make my job easier, and it'll make these webinars have a hell of a lot more content in them. So Ganti says, any comments on the Shadow Update 2 info provided on hmtweb.com that is posted in the Facebook group? Yeah, I believe Yeah, I'm actually reading that article in another tab. Ganti, I hadn't had a chance to go all the way through it, so I can't really comment on that yet, but possibly put that in the notes for next week, and we'll go over that a little bit more, or maybe even just I'll comment on it in the Facebook group. I saw that post, but I just started reading the article, so I don't have any insight on it yet, no opinions on it yet. Okay. All right, guys, that's it. I'm wrapping it up. So everybody, I appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully next week we'll have even more people with more questions and some updates to talk about, right? So we'll see you guys next week. If you have any other questions, just post them in the Facebook group, and I'll try to get to them. Thanks. Have a good week.